time to talk about this burning pile of garbage. There's a common saying in the world, so bad that you can't look away, like a car accident. And I'm sure you've seen something like that before, and unfortunately, you're about to see it again. Or rather, I'm going to tell you about it. There really is no simple way to ease into this, so let's just get our hands dirty and just plunge into the spittoon. And that's with Star Wars Acolyte. Or The Acolyte. It really doesn't matter because you are never going to see the show, and I'm going to make sure that you don't. It is the worst thing I have ever seen, ever. And I've seen some bad things in this recent year. Jojo Siwa. And before we all get glamored on my new camera, which, hi, it's a lot more clear now, right? I decided to use my phone because there's no reason to buy a multi-$100 camera. I have a multi-$100 camera, so there's that. But also, I want to make something very clear before I get into what I'm about to talk about. I'm not talking about politics. Frankly, I don't care. Because this show is just bad regardless of everybody's like, oh, it's too woke, blah. I don't care. I will only talk about one thing, and one thing only in regards to that, but everything else, it's just about good old writing and writing. There are multiple issues that I have with this show, and not trying to get into too many big spoilers, but I'm going to get into some major spoilers. First of which, one of the first things I want to talk about is the silly thing that they decide to do, and it's essentially the death of one of the Jedi. You know, the Jedi are being hunted down, they're being killed by the crazy lady, and during this entire thing, they go to a bar, and there's this giant fight that ensues. It's a good fight. It's probably the only thing I will give Acolyte any credit for, and that's the choreography. It's good stuff. The way that the Jedi died, not so good, because she died by a knife. A fruit knife. And I am not kidding when I say that. She died by a knife. And yes, I hear you're complaining. It's like, oh, that's just nitpicking. You can't complain about that. Knives are known to kill people, Brockster. Did you know that? I did know that. Thank you very much. The problem is that this wasn't used against silly old me. This was used against a Jedi. You know, trained in the Force, able to block bullets with ease, like just swinging it around like that. Yeah, those guys. Those guys that are trained in the Force and can see things coming from a mile away. Whew. And yet somehow they were killed by a butter knife. So that's strike number 1, and there are so many more strikes to go. Moving on to the Wookiee. We have to talk about the Wookiee. The Wookiee was something that was advertised a lot during this show. For those of you who don't know, it's this Wookiee Jedi. And that got people excited, like, oh my gosh, I love Wookiees. I love the Jedi. It's my 2 favorite things. And then we get to the episode where we were introduced to the Wookiee Jedi, and it's dead. Dead. Already dead. Killed off screen. Writing at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. You take your most advertised thing and kill it. And then briefly after that, there comes a situation where one of the main killers, I guess that's the right word. One of the main characters, May, talks about her master plan, because she found out that her sister is part of the Jedi Order, and now she's gonna go turn herself in, because her sister's is there, she wants to get reconnected, and it's gonna go fine for her. It's not. It's not, because at this point in the show, May had already killed 2 Jedi, so not exactly on friendly terms. I'm pretty sure they're gonna be pretty quick on the draw. You know, I would be if you killed 2 of my friends. And yet somehow she thought she would be okay. Logic. Logic is devoid in the show. By now I'm pretty sure you can tell, the writing for this is not exactly stellar. It's not stellar at all. A lot of the things don't make any sense, and the only episodes that are really any good, or parts of the episodes, is when they get to the combat and choreography. Because that's like the only thing that's good. Everything else, not good. In episode 4, no combat. Not a great episode. But what about the connectivity? What about the lore? Does it fit in? Absolutely not. Absolutely not, because it goes into one of the main controversies of the show, and it's, spoiler alert, Osha and May, who are kind of the main 2 characters of the show, were conceived through the power of the Force. Apparently they were conceived by these witches who did this really weird Lion King Broadway song and dance. The power of the Force, the power within. I was half expecting that fish from SpongeBob to show up and just start saying the power within. And unfortunately he didn't. I feel like the show could have been saved with that. I feel like that could be the only redeeming factor with that. But it didn't, and then we had to go through that entire song and dance, and we moved on, but with deep scars in our souls. But it goes back to the issue of the the conceiving by the Force, because it just kind of disregards everything else that was done in terms of the main storyline, and that's specifically with Anakin. Because Anakin is the chosen one, and his entire arc, the character arc and journey that he goes through, it's so well written. It's incredibly well done, and it feels like this part of the show and the show itself, it just kind of spits in its face, because it's done by people who, frankly, I don't even know if they watch Star Wars. I wouldn't be surprised. You could tell me that they never watched Star Wars a day in their life, I would believe you. I'd believe you 100%. Because Anakin was an anomaly because he was conceived through the Force. The Jedi don't know why, and they check his midichlorian count. Oh my gosh, it's rocket high. He is just filled with testosterone. And that started that entire story. And yet, apparently, I guess it's easy, I suppose. I guess he's not so special. I guess the chosen one is not as special as people think, because now we've got twins that are done by the exact same thing. And you just can't do that, because you're gonna upset people when you do that, and it's just not well written. Like at all. I don't see the reason why you'd need to add something like that breaks lore and just serves only to piss people off. And if you still think that they paid good attention to the lore of Star Wars, let me preface this too, and it has to do with one character. I believe his name is something Mundi. It's like Kai D Mundi, something like that. I don't know. I always just called him Carrot Head, because he looks like he has a carrot on his head. And it was nice seeing him in the show, I guess. You have to have some familiar faces to bring some people in. The problem is that he shouldn't be there, because he doesn't exist yet. Because this takes place many, 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 many years before he's even supposed to be born. So the timeline is already screwed up, and canon is broken. And that's the worst thing of all. I hate when these shows just don't do research into the topic that they're going into. I've seen it with Rings of Power, and I'm seeing it again with Star Wars, which I thought I'd never have to see. You'd think that a multi-billion-dollar company would have plenty of research and plenty of information before doing a show, especially considering the budget of the show. It's like $100 million or something ridiculous like that, and yet still they managed to screw up the most basic stuff. And how did Disney react to the backlash from this show that is doing terribly, by the way? If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it is not pretty. And you might be pointing out that those tomatoes on the left, you don't look at those. Those are by critics who are critics ironically. Asking opinions from the professional critics on Rotten Tomatoes is like asking Frank Gallagher if drinking is bad for you. You don't do it, because you're not going to get the information that you want. But Kathleen Kennedy is great, who I don't even know how she's still there. Witchcraft, probably. Kathleen Kennedy's great response to this entire backlash is, oh, it's just the men. They're scared of strong female characters. Grr. It's just not true. It's not true because we have had multiple examples not only in recent television, but also in Star Wars of strong female characters that people thoroughly enjoy, especially men. The main character in Fallout in the TV show, love her. People love her. She's a strong female lead. How about the House of the Dragon? Those are very, very strong female leads. People are really, really excited for that show. You've got people debating, oh, are my team green, team black? I don't know, but strong female leads, And if you think that's not a fair comparison because they are outside of Star Wars, well, buckle up, Buster. I've got a couple more examples. You've got Ahsoka, who is a recent character that people like, because she's a well-written character. Was she when she was first introduced? No. But they improved her, they made her likable, and they made her strong. She is like one of the strongest characters in Star Wars. And let's forget about the Golden Girl herself, Princess Leia, who I don't know if you remember, you might see her as the damsel in distress, but people forget that when she was first rescued, she grabbed a blaster, started shooting the place up, and then eventually took the lead and went down the garbage disposal and helped herself escape. She did like 90% of the work. So this idea that it's done, that the rating of the show is bad because people are afraid of strong female leads, it's just not true. It's inherently false, and it just needs to stop being said. Now, as you can imagine, because of this giant backlash, Acolyte Season 2 has already been canceled, and I'm pretty sure that it was canceled before the show even got released. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I saw rumors of it being canceled before I even saw the first episode. And the show isn't even fully out yet. So I think that just kind of gives credence to how bad this show is. It's terrible. And I really don't get it. I don't know when Disney's gonna finally learn their lesson and make good stuff. Because they've been struggling a lot recently. Not only with this, they completely botched the sequel movies, which I know is, you've got some people saying, oh, I like them. No, they're bad. You had the Book of Boba Fett, which was war crime, practically, because they had a very, very badass character that they completely butchered. And it's especially painful considering that he was completely different in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, where he absolutely kicked ass. Which leads me to The Mandalorian. What happened? Season 1 and 2 are great. What happened to Season 3? Where's my Mando? And do they have some golden gooses in between? Yes, absolutely. Andor was good. I say that the Kenobi series was good. Did they have stupid stuff in it? Like that chase when Obi-Wan was trying to chase Princess Leia? Yeah, that was stupid. For the most part, though, I thought it was pretty well done. I thought Ahsoka was well done. But it doesn't matter. Because within these shows, there are really, really bad moments of writing, and then you just have bad shows. And it just seems like it's on a very, very steady decline, and nothing's being done. Now, the rumor is that people are getting frustrated with Kathleen Kennedy. Good. I don't know how she's still there. I don't know why she's still there. I don't know who she paid off, but she's got to go. And if you want a reason why, this show is a reason why. This show is just another nail in the coffin for the Disney Star Wars era, because it's been off to an extremely rocky start, and it's just getting worse every single year. And I know there's people that are going to say, like, well, that's just Star Wars fans just being upset. Star Wars fans hate Star Wars. No, they hate bad writing. And yes, I understand that finding good writing is kind of difficult when we're dealing with space wizards, but at the same time, there's a story that people can follow, and it's a very, very well laid out path that they just time and time again continue to ignore because they think that they can do it better. This is not the first time it's happened. It's far from the 100th time that it's happened, and I'm gonna see more in the future. I'm pretty sure I am. And this downward spirals for Star Wars is not gonna stop until they take a step back and just realize that they are not doing it good. Because until they start correcting things, until they start shaping up, Star Wars is not gonna change, and we're never gonna get back to where it once was. And that was a titan of industry. But we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. But that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, if indeed you still are. My name is Brockster. I bid you all adieu. I'm losing my voice, I'm getting so worked up.